In this video, I'm going to be going over how to make a Cubist-inspired piece of art. So what I'm using for my object, the first thing you need to do is really know what your object is I'm using my house keys. It's got 2 keychains on it. I've already done 2 samples in class of kind of the drawing aspect of just getting it down, but I'm going to show you guys how to do this. First, just take a look. We have this one. It's really important to pay attention for features that are going to show up over and over again. So for example, the little character off my keychain, the shapes of the rings, the details off the edge of the keys, kind of the repeating circles and things like that. There's the next one, and I talk through how to do it. The reason I've got 2 samples is because one day I didn't have charge on my phone and the other day it didn't record properly, kind of cut partway through. So I've got these 2 samples to kind of give you a rough idea of what these look like, but I'm going to show you kind of how to create it. So first things first is I've got a piece of paper. Right, I'm just using a piece of A4 cartridge paper. Now it's really important to remember that when you are working with Cubism that you are seeing the object from multiple angles. Okay, it's coming at you from all different angles, your image, and it will change. So you don't need to stress too much about the position you start your object in. I'm starting with a very small handheld object because we're currently dealing with a pandemic, and it's easy to just have something small from your backpack for this particular project. So I'm going to start by just picking any aspect of this piece that I'd like to start with. So I'm going to start with the curve of the key ring, and I'm going to draw that in. And I'm just trying to roughly get some of these images in. I'm going to go a little farther with this piece than I did in the previous 2 drawings I just showed you, because I'm actually going to start adding some value in this piece to see what happens when you start to add value. So I'm sketching them in. Right now I'm just using a standard HB pencil. I don't want to draw everything in. I just want to get aspects of it is. Now with Cubism, yes, the word implies having angles, but it doesn't mean you have to have all angles. Yes, angles should feature heavily, but you are more than welcome to use curves, because Cubism is all about breaking the rules, so you don't need to keep every rule the same. So one of the things that's really important to look at is sort of repeating lines and where you put sort of intensity, and that kind of helps you develop your Cubist piece. Another thing that is important is about repeating shapes. So even though there's no key here, I'm going to put the same sort of key that I've already drawn here again, and have that same sort of shape come out at you again, but from a different angle, and emphasizing a different portion of it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start working on another shape that I'd like to see. So I'm going to deal with the tail off a Unikitty. You can see that I'm increasing the intensity of my pencil lines in some areas, but right now I'm just very much sketching out what I think I need. I will go back in on a second pass to really finalize some areas. So as I start to find shapes that I like, I will repeat them out, and sometimes that means other things kind of get left behind and forgotten. That's not really a problem. Using Cubism is a great way to teach unity, because you're trying to make a very unified image where things tend to repeat and show up again and again, and it also helps you teach balance because you have the overall balance of the image, whether you're doing radial or asymmetry or whatnot. It helps you kind of pay attention to that, because you bounce back and forth a lot, and because you're allowed to modify and change things kind of as you want and create new angles and repetition and so forth, it really allows you to play with what that might look like. So in the first half of the video, I went over how to draw a sort of Cubism-esque inspired drawing using a small object, which were my house keys. Now I'm going to show you the next step, which is applying value. And I'm going to just be doing that just using pencil. I'm going to be working on this drawing. I now have 3 drawings to kind of added up over the many classes I've been doing this project. So I'm going to be using this drawing, and I'm going to be using just a series of pencils to add value to it. Now, one of the things to keep in mind with Cubism is just as angles change, the values change as well, because you're looking at the object from multiple directions as well as sort of multiple time periods and things like that. So the lighting changes. So you can have a little bit of freedom when applying value. You should try to make some things sort of realistic within themselves, but across the whole image there doesn't have to be a lot of consistency, which is really nice when you're just getting introduced to value. Alright, on that note, here we go. Okay, now that I've finished applying value, you can see that the image looks significantly more cubist and a little bit weird and showing all the different angles, as opposed to just having the pencil line drawing. So adding value really takes your image to the next level. It also allows you to define and really highlight certain areas of interest that you really want to show off. The first pass I did at this section, the face ended up all just sort of the same gray, but I went in again and added some darker lines just here to really define that and really make that section pop. So it allows you to kind of really bring attention where you want it and make your image stand out really well. So good luck with your own cubesque, because they're not quite cubist, but cubesque drawings, whether you do just the contour drawing or if you pursue to the value drawing, or if you continue to the value drawing.